Well, good evening, Attorney General Sorrell. Thank you for holding this forum on this topic. I think I know all the panelists. Nice to see you. Sheriff Clark, thanks for coming up. We're always going to have jails, and I see no problem incarcerating people who have murdered, who have maimed, who have sexually assaulted folks. Jail's an appropriate place for them. I do think the question of how long is an appropriate question, and that is a difficult answer. I'm not sure it's an answer that's easily arrived to. I do not support sentencing guidelines. I think sentencing guidelines take away the discretion of both prosecutors and judges. I think discretion is the hallmark of our criminal justice system in Vermont. And it goes, I think, to the point that Susie Wizawati just raised. And that's the enormous power of prosecutors and of judges. We talk about mass incarceration, but I think the more appropriate topic to discuss is perhaps the over-criminalization that's occurred in this state and in this country. And when we talk about collateral consequences that attach to a conviction, which Susie referenced in terms of reentry, because the thing about jail is this: 95% of the folks are going to get out. And it is in our collective best interest, in fact, it's in our public safety, to plan for their successful reentry. And I think we have to acknowledge, frankly, our dishonesty when we talk about people who have been in jail. We like to say that when you've paid your debt back to society, we welcome you back. Frankly, for many of these folks, no matter what they do, we never allow them to pay their debt back. And so a lot of the reentry work that we talk about on the back end, I think, is the same work that we have to do on the front end of the system in order to prevent people from going in the first place. Prosecutors can be a leader on this. The power to charge somebody with a crime, regardless of that person ever being found guilty or not, is almost immaterial. All those collateral consequences attach to that charge. It follows you, and you still answer for it in many different ways. And so the first thing that I think we have to do is redefine what accountability means in this state. I'm not sure it just means punishment. Getting sober means being accountable. But what we have to acknowledge is that getting sober is really difficult work, and you're not gonna do it on your own unless you're really, really lucky. It takes support, it takes resources, and it takes understanding from people in positions of power that it is hard work and that failure or relapse is part of the process, and that we shouldn't be violating people for folks, for setbacks that many of us fall to in our personal lives without fear of being violated, as Susie so eloquently stated. So we have to build the infrastructure in our community which can be applied on not only the back end of the system but also on the front end in terms of creating alternatives to our traditional criminal justice system. And those programs are happening not only in Chittenden County, the Rapid Intervention Community Court, but across the state. I'll give credit to Governor Shumlin and the legislature for creating the pretrial services, which I think is a good program. But what leaders in law enforcement, leaders in public safety can do that I think will make the difference is really start to begin to redefining what a safe and vibrant community looks like. That if we're talking about public safety, then we should be talking about healthcare. We should be talking about prenatal care for women. We should be talking about early childhood education for children. We should be talking about strong schools. We should be talking about mental health counseling. We should be talking about access to health care. We should be talking about no longer should there be waiting lists for methadone clinics. We should be talking about that there's not enough doctors prescribing medically assisted treatment for folks. We should be talking about the role poverty plays in our system. And if folks who are in law enforcement begin to talk about that and connect the dots and educate that it is an integrated system, that it's not a level playing field, because when you come from a family of resources, you're gonna have your health insurance to get into treatment, to take responsibility, which is really what the criminal justice system ultimately looks for. But when you don't come from that family of resource and you're being diagnosed by a prosecutor or a public defender with a mental health condition or a substance abuse problem, we often have tried to solve it with a jail sentence or a probation sentence with a condition of get counseling. That doesn't work, and it hits the poor much harder than it hits anybody else because they're getting diagnosed by the system. And so we have to be willing to make investments that creates that integrated system of public health that will enhance our public safety. If we just focus solely at our criminal justice system, we're going to continue to have this conversation, which frankly we've had this conversation for many years, never at this level of leadership, Attorney General Sorrell, and I commend you for doing this. So jail is an appropriate place, and I think we have to use it selectively. We have to use our resources wisely, and we really have to, I think, invest in science to help prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges to make that decision, and those are those risk assessments to measure risk and needs. And I think if we do that, we will create a system that's much more fair, much more balanced, and much more transparent. But at the same time, we have to continue to make the investments in the community in order to prevent crime, which is, in my opinion, is the best form of public safety. Thank you.
Thank you.